I appreciate your time. Essentially, what we are hoping to do today, I'm calling with racebending.com, and what we're wanting to do is really showcase actors and filmmakers within the First Nations community that are doing some just incredible work. I mean, in part to kind of get rid of a lot of the stereotypes that they have there, because sometimes that's an excuse saying, oh, well, who do you know who is, and it's just frustrating because you guys are doing great work. And I think the most interesting, I mean it, and I think one of the more interesting pieces that you're working on now is obviously Blackstone, and I'm just wondering to see if you could take a minute to talk about your character there, and most curious, I mean, did you do anything to prepare yourself for the role, since it's a very self-critical look at reserve life, and you're not somebody who kind of grew up on a reserve. Did you do anything differently to prepare for that role as compared to some of the others that you've done?
No, I didn't do anything differently. I prepared pretty much the same way. I spent a lot of time on reserves. I haven't never lived on a reserve, but I spent quite a bit of time with family and friends over the years. So I've seen a lot of different kinds of reserves all across Canada. I certainly knew about some of the dysfunction and stuff that was still happening. And I've seen some of the better sides of reserves that are really handling their money well and doing some really great things with their youth and getting people involved in sort of cleaning up the communities and really taking a look at the things that are still going wrong and making really great changes. So for me, going into this role as Leona, I knew that she didn't really know, she doesn't know a whole lot about politics. She doesn't know a whole lot about what's been going on. She's kind of learning as she's going as well. So that's kind of how I did it. I just sort of jumped in with both feet, and I was floundering right alongside of her, trying to figure out, a first season is always a little bumpy, and we're doing the best that we can. And I think it's going over really well. I think her not knowing what she was doing really kind of helped me understand her a little bit better and what was going on the reserve, because nobody really knows in that situation what it's going to take to change things. And as you can see in the first season of Blackstone, everybody is confused and scared and frustrated and angry, and nobody quite knows what to do next.
And it's kind of summed up with the first title for the episode, isn't it? What future or future? Yeah, exactly. And that it's a pretty hard-hitting episode, our first episode, which was originally the pilot. It's not an easy watch. It's quite disturbing, in fact. But I know that anybody who lives on a reserve, or anybody who knows someone who lives on a reserve, anyone, they've experienced this kind of... Sometimes it becomes a sensitive subject, and it's also very close to the heart, I think, of a lot of people who are a part of your production. Certainly Eric Schwagen has been very active in terms of especially being active in the youth communities on reserves and elsewhere throughout Canada. And I was going to see... how important do you think it is to now be a role model yourself? Because did you have that same type of a positive role model in terms of people that you saw on television, on the screen, as you were growing up? And what would you say to those people who want to be actors or actresses now?
Oh my goodness. Well, growing up, there wasn't a whole lot of First Nations people on TV that there was Chief Dan George, of course, and then, in the early 90s, Dances with Wolf came out, and it was just so in to be Indian at that time, and that's kind of when my career took off, was around that time. I was basically the only Native actress in Vancouver at that time that could play teens to early 20s, and I just looked pretty much everything that required wearing a buckskin dress and riding bareback. So, I was really, really lucky at that time to be booking so much work with very little film background. I had started out in theater. But there was like Cantu Cardinal and Graham Greene, of course, and then sprinkling of others. But, right? Yeah, they're fantastic. Gordon Chachusas is one of them, too. So there was a handful of these amazing Native actors that I could look up to. But, there's like so many more getting into the business now, and we are very, very lucky to be showcasing some of those newcomers on Blackstone.
I have to agree.
Watch their careers sprouting here. Yeah, Roseanne Supernall, to name one. She plays Natalie, my niece, show, and she's amazing.
I was going to say, how important do you think it is, because you've been able to do Blackstone in part with APTN, how important do you think it is to have a network like that in terms of increasing not just representation or not just getting roles, but more importantly the fact that they're contemporary roles, like you say, not in the buckskin dress that you had to do early on in your career, because it's a pretty wide departure from that or even Dances with Wolves to something like Blackstone, which is very much of the community.
I was so surprised when I read the first script of this. I thought, wow, nobody's ever attempted to do something like this. And I think APTN obviously played a pivotal role in putting the pilot out and getting the first 8 episodes done. Because honestly, I don't think that any other network would have given it a chance, really. And then, for first season coming out, Showcase jumped on board, and it blew me away that Showcase jumped on board with us. And we're really grateful for that we have 2 great networks that are behind us with this and really believe in the project.
We're very happy to hear that. And I'm going to see, do you think there are any plans of bringing it to the States? It is we did have a chance to catch the pilot, but it's been kind of a struggle here for people who are fans in the U.S. to want to get a hold of the show. I was going to say, do you think?
I know. You know what? I have a whole bunch of fans from Caprica and Battlestar and a bunch of other shows that I've done that are bugging me on Facebook, and they're really wanting to see the show, and I really want to show it to them.
I can probably admit to being one of them.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that. I've been asking my producers when and if that's going to happen, and unfortunately, you know what? Our 2 networks here in Canada have first rights to it right now, and they kind of decide when it's going to be released elsewhere. I know that they said they were in talks with somewhere overseas. They won't tell me where. So that's going to happen. But also, the DVDs are going to be coming out this summer. DVDs of first season will be available to purchase online through the APTN website. So anyone in the States can order them.
Oh, that's great news. I mean, I think that hopefully that'll get you a little bit less niggling there on Facebook now that we're able to put that out there for the community. But I'm glad that you brought up Caprica and BSG, and also I hope you don't mind kind of Blood and Chrome you said that you're going to be a part of as well. And I have to say, they must really like you. You've been invited back to all 3 of the series, and
it's been great. I mean, it started with the webisodes of Battlestar Galactica. I did 3 of those, and then I auditioned for a really, really nice role in Caprica that I really enjoyed, and then was supposed to be throughout season 2 if they went, and then they got canceled, which was very sad because that was one of my favorite characters I've ever played. And then they were shooting the pilot of Battlestar Galactica: Blood and Chrome here, and they 2 days before they went to camera, the writers added a couple of characters, and they kind of panicked and didn't have time for a casting session, so they just called me up and said, "Hey, can you come in? We need somebody to shoot in 2 days." And I was more than happy to do it, and it's a great character, and it looks like if they go for a first season, that I'll be a regular there, hopefully. Anyway, in this industry, anything can change at the drop of a hat. So, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Well, we can definitely.
They'll ask me back.
We can definitely keep our fingers crossed this time round for you as well. But I think it's definitely it's an interesting universe, and one of the reasons that I think the fact that you're on the show is so remarkable is, again, we started the conversation talking about some of those early roles that you had there, and kind of the stereotypical buckskin dress or feathers or however ceremony getup that you can get in Hollywood or in Vancouver, and it's very different. It's a fresh face to see people from the Native community actually in science fiction. Not only because there's not as much representation there, but also because it also says you're in the future, not the past. And I think it's really interesting. I mean, what is it about all these science fiction projects that brought you to them? Because you've been in quite a few, including Caprica and Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, a number of them. I kind of in the last 10 years have become sci-fi girl. I don't know how that happened actually. It's been really great. And I think what it is that they're looking for to put more ethnic looks in these shows. Get that sense of, we just don't know where these people are from. They could be aliens, they could be human. But I have a look that I could be kind of anything, so I've been kind of sort of lucky in that way. I've played Hispanic, I've played Native, I've played Caucasian, I've played all sorts of things. And I've just been, I audition for these roles just like any other actor in the city. I guess I'm doing my job because they're hiring me.
Well, no, the first time I'd had a chance to see you was actually as Tri-Gema in Andromeda, which I thought was an interesting series. And is it more interesting to play a villain as you do there, or kind of a complicated character at maybe not giving it credit to call it a villain, but do you have a preference in terms of playing a villain or a hero? You've got a pretty wide range.
I like playing everything. I mean, I get an idea, when I see the sides for an audition, I get an idea of what the character is in my head, and I just sort of go for it. I mean, when I first got the sides for Tri-Gema, she was Tri-Jara at that time, actually. Tri-Gema, I had the image of, what's her name from Star Wars, Anakin's wife.
Oh, Padme.
Padme! I had Padme in my head for some reason. So I kind of modeled Tri-Gema after her, when she's very stoic and stiff and full of makeup and stuff. But like I said, the witches are really fun to play. Really fun. I love playing, like, Fidelia Fizekis on Caprica was amazing to play her. She was so cool. And I played a couple of other real nasty girls, and it's just fun to get nasty sometimes. But playing Leona is so different than most of the roles that I've been playing lately. She's just scared and strong and timid at the same time. So it's a really great thing to be an actor and to be able to be all these different people at any given time. I have a lot of fun.
I'm glad to hear it, and I think in some cases it shows, because it is definitely a fun performance, especially you said Fidelia, because again the first thing you do is you kiss S.A. Morales, and then it goes from there.
That was my first scene. I had just met him 5 or 10 minutes before that. I had just walked onto the set. I had never met any of these people before, and that's the first thing I had to do. It was a little unnerving, but it was fun.